One of the major themes explored in your album, Power in the Blood, include war, government, greed, native rights, and respect. As you already know, we're now a liberal majority government who's made the promise that they're going to implement all 94 calls to action made by the TRC. My question to you is, what does this decision by the Canadian government, what does it mean to you in terms of rebooting that relationship between Aboriginals and the rest of Canada?
It's really reinventing something new, because really we never have had the relationship with Canada that we thought we had. You know, the government people would come to Aboriginal people and say, "This is what the treaty says. Sign here." Then they'd go back and read it themselves, and only 40 years later would an Aboriginal group realize that they had signed away the rights to the land. No, we were agreeing to share the land. The fact that we now have truth is good. The reconciliation is going to involve us all. But for me, this day is a dream come true, because I've been talking about genocide for 50 years. 50 years ago, I wrote a song called "My Country, 'Tis of Thy People You're Dying," and it says, "And where in the history books will it tell of the genocide basic to this country's birth, of the preachers who lied and the children who died, how a nation of patriots returned to their earth?" And the thing that, as an educated person, it just breaks my heart to go to universities and to realize that all of these great professors have been cheated in their education. They've been shortchanged. And on the other hand, you know, I'm a real optimist. And it's just, to me, it's a great thing to be able to give professors the information that, you know what, you were cheated before, but now you can learn.
I mean, you describe yourself not belonging to any particular religion. And I see you go like this really quickly because you seem that, you know, sometimes it could be something equally or easily exploited, or this kind of power struggle that kind of comes up there. I'm curious to know because, for example, we have treaties, government implementations, and these kind of like are man-made efforts to somewhat bring healing to something that could be so deeply spiritually rooted. I'm wondering, is there a space for us as humans to look to something bigger to ourselves, like God, and finding reconciliation? Is there space for that?
I think there is, and if I can get quite specific with you for a second, there's something that most people have never heard of that's sometimes called the Doctrine of Discovery, which we really should call the Doctrine of Domination, that came about by the popes in 1491, 92, 93, and later even in the 1450s. But this is a long time ago. People don't put it together that when indigenous people in the world were discovered, when was it? In Europe. It was the Inquisition. Nobody ever puts that together. There were serial killers on the thrones of Europe. Henry VIII, Vlad the Impaler, that's what you call Dracula, Ferdinand and Isabella, and the church. Forget Christianity for a second, which is very beautiful. Christ, very beautiful. But the racketeers who got a hold of Christianity, they put out this thing called the Doctrine of Discovery, which we rephrase as the Doctrine of Domination, which said that if explorers from Portugal, Holland, France, England, Spain, if they're out exploring, they don't want to step on each other's toes. So the Pope says, if explorers are out discovering things and they come upon a land that is inhabited by people who are non-Christians, it is your duty to kill them, enslave them, or convert them. And if you convert them, then their job is to work for us. Of course, they were saying work for Christ. No, it's not how it turned out. So the Doctrine of Discovery is something that we have to deal with in Canada because it's embedded in Canadian law. It's embedded in American law, in the law of all of the countries who were colonized by those 5 European countries. And it's embedded in their laws, and it's still referred to in the 2000s. It's not a thing of the past. So it's not a matter of going back and learning all of history. It's not that we need to get across. What we need to get across is that we need to do away with the Doctrine of Discovery.
You've said you have aunties, uncles, your own parents were have ties, were in residential schools. I'm curious to know, what does the rest of Canada need to understand and internalize regarding the literal, like as you said, cultural genocide that happened and the importance of reconciliation that is needed, that it's not just a passing thought that, listen, this really happened, and it's not just something that happened, but something was lost that needs to be regained and rebuilt. What do we need to understand?
The one thing that I'd like to say about it is that when you see Aboriginal people out on the streets, you have to realize that this is a group of Canadians who were raised without parents, who were raised without parents, who were raised without parents. Mm-hmm. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of children were ripped from their families, were kidnapped. They were raised without family, without brothers and sisters, without parents, and they did not learn to parent. So this is, as a mom, I was raised in an adoptive home, but I had a great mom, and I don't know what I would have done without her. Imagine how it would be to grow up that way.
Preview.